This whole video was like one big lesson in hubris. Every single autumn, or really every August 1st, the corner of the internet where I commonly dwell absolutely explodes in joyous exclamations of "Hip hip huzzah, it's fall! Oh goody, spooky season! Yay for Halloween!" And I'll be real with you, I heave a sigh. No disrespect, I totally understand why so many people are huge fans of fall and Halloween, especially as makers. I am simply not one of them. Fall is great, fall is fine. Halloween is the same for me as pretty much any other holiday, which is to say, I don't really care about it at all. And every year I'm like, you know what? If you just complied, make the autumn themed content, do something spooky, at least a costume that you can claim is for the season, it'll probably do well. The people want cozy, crunchy fall content. Shouldn't you give the people what they want? No, I should not, because it wouldn't be genuine. So I'm gonna give you flowery sundresses in October, and the video's probably gonna tank because florals for autumn? How original. But I don't care, I just wanna make something pretty. And the thing is, those autumn tropes of like, chilly weather and a fire in the fireplace and leaves changing color and blustery breezes, that's only real for a small selection of people in the world, y'all. Even growing up in Texas, we didn't really have that. It was just hot, and then one day it was cold, and the leaves mostly went from green straight to brown. And even by Christmas, it wasn't usually cold enough to have a fire going. Here in LA, fall is actually kind of a second spring. So many trees and plants burst into bloom again. It is so pretty, and I love it. Leaves turning red and orange and yellow is gorgeous, don't get me wrong. It's just never really been a reality for me in any of the places that I've lived. I'm super into second spring though. And I have been super in the mood to make some really pretty fun dresses lately. I finally cleaned up the floor of my fabric closet, got all of that put away on shelves where it's supposed to go in its proper category, and while I was at it, I just pulled all of my prettiest fabrics. Not all of my prettiest fabrics. Let me rephrase that. I pulled a bunch of my prettiest fabrics. I have some laces that are like gorgeous, but that's not really the vibe of this project. I'm not trying to make something intricate and complex. In fact, what I'm thinking here is there's a bunch of really kind of simple garments that I would love to make out of beautiful fabrics. But at this point, they aren't necessarily like sewing challenges or anything, which is actually kind of why I haven't gotten around to making them yet, because it used to be that any sewing project was a challenge for me and therefore a good video. I mean, let's be honest, the story of the video is just something you have to think about when you're a content creator, not just what you're making in the video, but also the video itself. So you know what? Let's make some simple garments out of beautiful fabrics so they can stop languishing in my fabric closet, yeah? And turns out that literally everything I pulled as one of my prettiest fabrics is a floral. Flowers are pretty, what you gonna do? Let's start with a little brainstorming. Before my brain can start working up a storm, I need a snack. So let's take a moment to talk about the sponsor of today's video, Wild Grain. Y'all, I love bread. I especially love artisan, high quality, low on ingredients bread, which is exactly what Wild Grain can send you every month because they are the first ever bake from frozen subscription box for beautiful sourdough breads, artisanal pastries, and fresh pastas. Rather than cranking out products full of preservatives in a massive factory, Wild Grain is partnering with small bakeries around the country, utilizing the expertise of people who prioritize the quality of their bread and pasta. This means their products are made with ingredients you can pronounce and slow fermentation that's rich in nutrients. You can choose between their classic, plant-based, or gluten-free boxes, and they have a wide variety of delicious items, so you can be mixing it up month to month or getting your absolute favorites over and over again. Right now we've got the fall seasonal goodness going on, and while I may not be a fan of a lot of autumn stereotypes, you know what I freaking love? Apple cider donuts. Forget the pumpkin spice, these are my fall jam. If you'd like to check out Wild Grain for yourself, then click the link in the description and use my code TheStitchery to get $30 off your first box, plus you'll get free croissants for life. Don't miss their seasonal products. Those apple cider donuts will not be on the menu forever. Thank you to Wild Grain for sponsoring this video, and now that I am sufficiently bread-fueled, let's get to brainstorming. I brainstorm better on the ground, y'all. There's threads everywhere. Hi! Oh, thank you. So first of all, the fabric that I really specifically want to use is this one, which I got at one of the creative reuse stores I visited. It's stunning. There's not a huge amount of it though. It's probably a perfectly fine amount, but it's what my brain sees as rather small because I so often make ridiculously giant skirts. So I'm thinking with this one, what if I just do a very simple sundress and I can make the skirt as large as possible depending on how much fabric I have. But I'm thinking pretty small bodice, something sort of princess seam, paneled. I might play around with like a pointed bodice waistline. There's a name for that. I've never done it before. And then it would be nice to do, well, shirring normally, only I can't for some reason get my machine to do shirring. So fake shirring, which is when I put just multiple rows of elastic in the back. So it has an elasticated back, it's more of an easy fit. It's not me like tailoring a dress to very perfectly fit my form. And then maybe just some wide straps. But yeah, it's not like a complex or super like interesting to me design because this fabric is so beautiful that I just want the fabric to be the star. That is plan number one. I'm kind of doing this like in advance so I can wash whatever fabric I want to use and get any corresponding thread, zippers, elastic, whatever it is I need. Next up, I have this stuff, which is the only knit fabric in this pile. It's harder to find really pretty prints on stretch material, which I think is abysmal. So I was thinking with this one, maybe a maxi dress, because I do actually have quite a bit of it. Again, something simple. Have I said that enough already, that it's just all gonna be pretty simple designs? Probably that sort of peasant-y style, something with either like cap sleeves or little shorter puffed sleeves, and then like the elastic under the waist. I might do a double band of elastic though. So elastic here and then elastic here, so that you get that sort of milkmaid vibe to it. It is a stretchy fabric, so technically that design does not need to be made with a stretchy fabric because it has elastic everywhere. So I'll think on this. Maybe I should just make like a version of my favorite dress out of it. I don't know. But I do want to use it, so I am specifically going to wash it. Also, this is not gonna be like a speed sewing challenge or like getting as much done as possible or making a whole wardrobe. It's really just about finally using my fabrics. Like Bernadette made a video about this recently. Using your pretty fabrics, your fancy fabrics, the fabrics you grabbed because you love them so much. We should use them, y'all. It's gonna be far better to make something out of them and be able to enjoy the thing that you've made, even if that thing is just like a pillow or a bag, not necessarily some sort of pretty fancy dress or something. But it's better to be able to enjoy it as a thing than keep it in your closet where you're just like looking at it and being like, oh, pretty. Speaking of which, this one, so pretty. Another one that I got on, oh yeah, that's a good question. Wow, super just blanked out there for a minute. Another one that I got on my creative reuse road trip. I just zoned out because I realized that this fabric might be the best in this collection for the dress that everyone was making for a while. Not everyone, I just saw a lot of people making it. I believe it is the Ella dress by Silver Saga Patterns. I love the design, and of course I was kind of like, I could just figure that out on my own, but I don't want to necessarily do that when it's a pattern by an independent pattern maker. I think I'm gonna go ahead and buy the pattern and make it out of this. This is not the type of fabric she recommends for that, but I break rules a lot. I think this would be really pretty in that style. With the flowy sleeves, I don't really want them long, but I could do 3/4. And then it would actually be able to last me kind of all the way through the winter, because you know, winter in Southern California. Nix everything I told you about this fabric. I think we're gonna make the Ella dress out of that. Look at me using a pattern. Potentially. Look at me using a pattern. I shouldn't say anything until we get there. Back to this one. So, okay, now I might do this one in the design I was just saying. The peasant-y thing, gathered around the top, little puff sleeves, 2 rows of elastic here. Yeah, I like that idea. We're washing this one. Now that is probably already enough, but I do have more ideas, so I'm gonna tell you about those ideas. We might not get to some of these, that's my thing. Which ones are we actually gonna end up making? The thumbnail might have told you, but otherwise, it's a surprise. This fabric right here, I do have an idea for this. I had an idea for this like an hour ago and I was like, ooh, it's not something I wanna do in this video because it is like a challenging, complex design. So, I think it would look awesome in this fabric and I'm gonna save it for that. One thing I've been seeing a lot lately, which like, gasp, look at me, I might be doing something trendy, is bloomer sets, a little pair of bloomers, a matching top, pretty freaking cute. If I have enough, ooh, okay, this is more than I thought. I think that would be adorable in this fabric. I'm not fully sure about the style of top yet. I might honestly just do a blocky rectangular kind of top that then you put elastic around it and make it into a little crop top. I don't know, I'll probably make the bloomers first, see how those fit me, and then go for the top. Okay, this fabric I got from, what is it, Seams Fabric up in Michigan. It's so light and breezy. It's so beautiful. I mean, look at that. Oh, is it a Liberty fabric? It says Liberty. They always do such tiny floral prints, which is usually not my favorite thing. So yeah, I probably grabbed this one specifically because it is not that. Big prints like this are hard to cut into and hard to make something out of because it's like, I don't want to obliterate the print too much. I was thinking it'd be fun to do just one of those very simple sort of gathered tube dresses where it's literally just like 4 or maybe 3 rectangles and the top one you put on some bias tape to make the straps. I don't know if this would be enough fabric, but that would require very little cutting of it. I'm so bad at being able to tell how much you can make from an amount of fabric you have though. I tend to think that you're gonna need way more. So we'll wash that, we'll see if it's enough for that style of dress. Here's what we have left. 3 fabrics. This one is so pretty, but it is like a border print fabric and it's sheer, which makes me think I'm gonna have to think of something pretty specific for it. This one, stunning, beautiful, but also like, fancy? Again, making me think maybe it requires something a little more specific. This is another one I got at Seams Fabric. And is it another Liberty? Oh no, this is Art Nouveau Symphony, printed in Japan. I typically don't like really small prints. They kind of remind me of the 90s, and I have the whole 90s PTSD thing. That's dramatic. I should stop saying that. I have the thing where I don't like wearing 90s styles, even though they're back in style, because I was wearing them in the 2000s when they were out of style. Long story short. But this is one that I really like. It's got like squirrels and foxes and rabbits and other stuff on it. And I got a pretty decent amount of this. I'm gonna go ahead and wash this one, but I don't have a specific idea for it yet. Possibly though, one of the other ideas won't work on the amount of fabric that I have for it, and this could replace it. So I will have it at the ready. Okay though, so these 3 fabrics are getting put on hold, back in the closet for future designs, and we are washing all of this. Yay. Turns out I didn't need to procure anything for this. I have matching thread, I have plenty of elastic, don't need zippers. I just had to wash and iron all of it. But I also, in that amount of time, got a whole new idea, and it's the one that I want to start with. Wahoo! Nothing revolutionary, it's just the good old triangle boobs, maxi length, empire waist, bias cut spaghetti strap sundress. I've seen this dress a bazillion times, but I've never made it. And I think the floral fabric would look gorgeous this way. The question is, doesn't doing stuff on the bias require like a lot of fabric, like more fabric than you would normally need, and I have less. Ironically, this would also now require a zipper. Luckily, this fabric has a bazillion colors in it, so I think I'm good. Let's figure some stuff out, shall we? Hi, this is VoiceOver Charlie. I don't think I've ever formally introduced myself. I'm pretty much the same as Charlie on the screen, just with the addition of hindsight and a script about it. This is not gonna be a video where I tell you how to make a dress. Not that that's something I do much anyway. It's not even gonna be a video where I tell you how I made a dress. If we're lucky, it might be a video where I have a wearable dress at the end, but what it's really gonna be is Charlie on the screen riding the frickin' massive roller coaster that is a person's love-hate relationship with the craft they currently claim is their favorite. Raise your hand if you've been on that roller coaster recently. You see, I've never made a bias cut dress, not even with a pattern, definitely not self-drafting. I'm not sure I've ever even owned or worn a bias cut dress. They aren't my super typical style, which may lead you to believe that I don't know very much about them. That belief is well-founded. But with the audacity of someone who has draped a couple times with semi-successful results, I made this top as a mock-up. It was, delightfully, semi-successful. I should make myself some bathing suits. This was really easy. I then proceeded to use a completely different type of fabric, change the design a little, skip doing a second more thorough mock-up, and spend loads of time doing every type of seam finish out there in an effort to be as professional as possible, all while not checking the fit or drape at any point. Spoiler alert! Wait, no, you can't spoil something if that's the point you're up to in the story anyway. Alert! It didn't fit well. It didn't drape well. It had a whole lot of issues and not a whole lot of options for fixing them because dress is small and seams are finished. Also, I got real grumpy about it, complained to Matt a lot, and then didn't touch it for 48 hours straight, during which time I had a mild existential crisis, overhauled my future project list, and painted some lace. But we are all well aware that the world holds horrors far worse than a sewing project gone wrong. So hoist those seam rippers aloft and repeat after me, it's not the end of the world. So there are a lot of issues with this dress, but I think the standout biggest one that I wasn't able to fix at all, maybe I should say that I wasn't willing to fix at all, is the fact that I drafted this back seam straight. Like it was a straight line. Because I'm so used to most of my clothing going just to my waist and then expanding hugely, I'm not used to something having to go over the curve of my bootay in the back. So it just did not even occur to my brain when I was cutting things out that that's also a pattern piece that you need to drape or create. You can't just be like, oh, straight line. And that is why in the back we have bloop, 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 lots of wrinkles. It's not going to drape because there is no curve to it. That being said, I do think I got the dress to a place where it looks decent on camera. It actually kind of feels decent to wear too. I'm genuinely surprised by how okay it is, because I expected it to be unfixable. It's mainly just bloopy right here. But life moves on, and so shall we. Literally, let's move on. I'm just gonna take my hubris, fold it up gently, pack it away for a while. Not gonna lie, I need a win. Let's make bloomers. I've successfully made bloomers before. I am wearing the bloomers that I successfully made in order to boost my morale. What could go wrong? Knock on wood for me. Allow me to share with you my thoughts on hubris versus audacity. Audacity is great, it's a wonderful thing. It's the thing that tells us to just go for it, give it a try. And honestly, that's the hardest part of a new endeavor, right? Just convincing yourself to try? Audacity helps with that. Hubris, not so good. Hubris is what tells us that success is inevitable regardless of how much or little effort we put towards achieving it, in my opinion. Audacity is believing I can whip up a pair of bloomers with no pattern. Hubris is believing I can do it with my brain turned off, which is what you're currently observing. Luckily, I had a little "what the f***, my dear" moment and woke that brain back up, and I had enough fabric to adhere to my measure once, cut twice method. Admittedly, hubris is also the reason I've only stay-stitched like 3 times in the last 3 years, and so far, that hasn't come back to bite me too badly, so you know, hubris doesn't always take you down right away. But the fall is coming. I can see it coming, I acknowledge its approach, and I keep right on not stay-stitching. On the other hand, you may have noticed if you've been around the channel for a while that lately I've started doing a lot more pressing on my projects. Actually, you probably haven't noticed because that's boring and I edit it out. But trust me, I have! Look at me pressing my seams right now. Proof. That's all thanks to Audacity, because you see, Audacity has convinced me to try making more and more complex garments, which means I've had to start employing more and more professional, per se, techniques in order to make those garments look good. Just not stay stitching, I'm still hubrising my way through that one. Anyway, bloomers are super easy to make. They're basically shorts designed like your waist is even bigger than your hips, then you throw elastic in the top and you've got boxers, throw elastic in the hems and you've got bloomers. Let's make a matching top. This quickly became a game of how much can you squeeze out of the fabric you've got left, also known as what level of poof dost thou desire? I won the game in that I got all the required pieces for my top cut out and had enough left over for emergency side extenders or something, but then I didn't even need it because the sewing went grandly. Up until I completely forgot that I was doing French seams and had to once again hoist the seam ripper. Dang it!
A few moments later.
Okay. Wrong side to wrong side. We got this. It's quite lovely when your sewing project is going well enough, though, that you can spend ages standing in front of a mirror, futzing around with trim and trying to decide between puffed sleeves or non-puffed sleeves. Which did I choose? Let's find out right now. I futzed a little too close to the sun while I was trying on the bloomers for the last time. Theme of this video. I was adjusting the crotch seam, I was adjusting the waistband placement, and I ended up with this sort of ruffly top on it. And I was like, oh no, why have you done that? Everything was going so well. But then I tried them on again, and I kind of like the ruffly paper bag top. It's kind of cute. Crisis averted. So yeah, I'd call this the win that I needed. Super cute matching set, super simple design, super pretty fabric. Honestly, I probably won't wear these together all that often. I would probably pair them with other pieces, just because I'm not like super duper a matching set person. But I don't know. It's growing on me. I really like both the pieces though. That's what matters. And also that, you know, I feel a little bit better about my sewing abilities now. Yay! So you know what sounds like fun? revisiting the bias cut dress. Because it went so well before. Don't worry though, the hubris is staying packed up for now because we are using a pattern. What? The Silver Saga dress that I said I wanted to make. I'm pretty sure from looking at it and from reading about it that is a bias cut dress. Pretty similar from, you know, bust, under bust down to the one I just tried to make. I have high hopes that guidance will yield better results, but let's not forget that I've also chosen to use a fabric that is not at all what the pattern maker recommends, so this'll be grand!
One eternity later.
Y'all, this complaint is not lobbed at the people making digital patterns. It's not their fault, this is just how it is. But oh my god, printing a pattern at home and having to fully construct it and cut it out is such a slog and uses so much paper. I mean, come on, you gotta admit that just winging it and avoiding this whole process is at least a little appealing, right? Right? This pattern uses quite a bit of fabric because the skirt pieces are too wide to cut two side by side. That being said, I also have quite a bit of fabric, so part of me is thinking, just go for it and start cutting out the pieces, while another part of me is thinking maybe I should lay it all out on the floor first and make sure it fits, and another part of me is thinking I'm pretty sure I let a mosquito into this house because I'm itchy as crap. I closed the door, went on a mosquito hunt, and then just started cutting.
How do you know where to cut here?
Well, I cut it out where I need to cut. There were actually like 8 lines. And when I cut out the pattern, I cut it out
that's
in my
how
size.
a pattern is. You follow a certain line for a certain size.
Yeah, that's called pattern grading. It's the smallest size all the way up to the biggest one. It's like a doop with a big skirt, and I'm doing the sleeves like 3/4 kind of billowy sleeves.
I don't know what that means.
Imagine the head is here. This connects.
What's a bodice?
This is the part that's over the boob.
Are you gonna sew here?
I guess we will find out.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for stopping by.
That's acceptable.
I'm so glad. I did indeed end up having enough fabric, even if I need to cut out a little something extra, I think. And now... oh no, my hubris! Okay, fine, I'll stay stitch, but I'm not gonna be happy about it. You know how I said I could have figured out a dress like this, but oh sure, I'll support the pattern designer? Well, I take all of that back. Maybe I could have made something with a similar overall look, probably not if we're being real, but never at this point in my sewing game would I have been able to pattern out a dress that fits and falls like this one. I never would have thought to make the sleeves and bodice connected in a shape like this. Never would have thought to put little triangles of stabilizer on the corners. Never even would have thought to make a sleeve that's 3 separate pieces. That being said, here's something that lightly frustrates me about patterns. Every pattern I've used, which is admittedly not very many, has assumed the sewist has and will be using a serger, and doesn't provide a lot of assistance or advice for what to do if you don't. Honestly, I'm really glad I chose to do this dress in a stretch material, cause I'm okay with leaving my knit fabrics raw on the edges. Otherwise there would have been a lot of adjusting the seam allowance for French seams, and I'm just not sure that would have turned out super well. But yeah, in pretty much every way I can think of, using a stretch material for this actually made it easier to construct. In a lot of places where it seemed like you needed to sort of ease 2 fabrics together that were on the bias and probably wouldn't quite be perfectly lined up, I could just stretch one slightly, and yeah, easier. So, you know, if you happen to have seen this dress before and thought, hey, I'd love that, but maybe only in a stretch material, this feels very specific to me. But you know what? If anyone else out there was thinking that, yeah, it works great in a stretch material. Maybe not a super stretchy one, a little bit of a stretchy one. This one's a pretty stable knit. I kind of want to do looser elastic, but I also don't want to bother. Thoughts. I did indeed fix the elastic on the sleeves so that it just kind of sits around my arm instead of hugging my arm. Although I'm kinda thinking, that was a lot of kindas. I kind of liked the sleeves unelasticated with their like fluttery version. I don't know. That's an easy thing that I could always do in the future. Just, you know, cut out the elastic and then it would already be hemmed and everything. So it's an option. I really enjoyed this. Obviously, like I said, I don't love the process of printing and lining up and taping together and cutting out digital patterns. I'm not used to it. I'm not used to that being a part of my process, so it feels like a whole thing. And also, like, it is so much paper. What am I supposed to do with this now? But it was nice once I was constructing it to just be able to follow some instructions. Like, I often have to kind of sit down and write out a list. Am I recording? Wow, clearly I'm recording. I can see the blinking light. I often have to sit down and like write out a list of steps to just sort of clear my head, especially on anything more complex. And it was like, hey, they're already there for you. And then when I didn't feel like following them exactly, I just didn't. Also, this is a bit of a weird thing, I guess, but I like this neckline. I like a little bit of a low neckline now and then. I'm not great at drafting one out for myself. I don't know if it's because of my always cut everything bigger, it ends up being always cut everything higher, but like I've never really succeeded in drafting something low cut for myself, even though I do love a low cut neckline every now and then. So it's nice to have followed a pattern and gotten what I think is a very graceful low cut neckline. Onward! Remember the very first fabric that I said I most definitely wanted to use in this video and we still haven't touched? I mean, I'm sure you remember it. It's been a long time for me. We're gonna touch it, we're gonna use it, I'm gonna do it. Kind of just like hyping myself up here. I'm gonna do it! I think I just still don't have a super clear vision in my head of the dress that I want to make, but I do really want a circle skirt. So my thought is, start by cutting out the circle skirt and then see how much fabric you have left. And that'll kind of dictate what I do up top. You know? Sure. Speaking of time, let's speak about time. I know it can be kinda a negative force on your motivation to see people on the internet whipping up whole garments super fast. Like, I've heard this from people and I totally get it. It's actually the next morning, by the way, because I filmed that one little talking bit and then went to finish this puzzle so I can have my cutting table back. Obviously, for many of us, especially on YouTube, this is our full-time job, so in my case, I often have 12 almost entirely uninterrupted hours in a day to work on a project. Whereas for most people, those 12 hours may be spread out over 4 days, 12 days, or a whole month. Also, I absolutely don't have enough fabric for a circle skirt, so we've either got to add a second fabric to this design or change the design entirely. This is why I don't really like to focus on the length of time it takes me to do a project, especially in terms of days. I decided to go with a totally different design, and oh look, I'm gonna use my only favorite pattern as a base, and also I love this fabric so much, I'm gonna make a mock-up with this fabric I love less. Wow! Yes, I can make a dress in a single day, because my single day can be anywhere from 3 to 12 hours. Saying I made a dress in a day doesn't really reflect how much time it actually takes, right? But I also think it's important for me to point out when stuff isn't fast for me, because that's actually fairly frequent, especially as I've moved past my initial, shall we call it, honeymoon phase in my sewing journey. The key here is figuring out if my new design idea can even fit on 2 yards of fabric, because that's all I got, y'all. So, for example, I've been working on this video for weeks. Like, so many weeks, I'm really ready to move on to another video, which is why this is gonna be the final dress for this video. Well, not this one, because this one is the mock-up, but you know what I mean. I've actually been pausing, sometimes for days, in between each garment to go edit or work on other videos or clean the house or whatever. In fact, by the time I got to fabric number 3, I was pausing multiple times within the project itself. Like, I made the pattern, went away for a while, cut everything out, went away for a while. Before binding the neckline and finishing the sleeves, which was like all I had left to finish the whole dress, I just left it for 2 days and did other stuff because I didn't feel like doing that. That being said, I did finish this mock-up dress in less than a day. I'd say about 6 hours. Because my brain was like, mock-up, super fast and easy. You might even have to take it apart afterward.
You should do flat felt seams.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I just went all in on the construction here and made a fully proper, totally real, not at all a mock-up, beautifully finished and pressed seams dress. Cool. So anyway, my point is that even though this is my full-time job and I can work on a project for 12 hours straight if I want to, I still often don't because it's just not necessary or great for long-term sustainability of my creative drive. I don't want to grow to hate sewing because I forced myself to do so much of it so fast, so consistently.
I forgot the fabric is directional.
Also, I completely forgot this fabric is directional, which means the design I just did will not fit on it the same way it fit on the last fabric. But also, did I mention I'm changing the design anyway? Ha! What is the point of mock-ups when you never do the same thing twice? And my point also is that however long it takes you to do a project, whether it's a simple pair of shorts or a massively detailed ball gown, or not even a sewing project at all, because this applies to anything, that's the amount of time it needed to take, and that's totally fine. Don't rush the creative process. Don't force yourself to work on something if you're not in the mood, unless you have a deadline or something, but that's sort of a different story. And please don't ever think that you can't make something you saw someone make online because you wouldn't be able to make it as fast. Creativity and making stuff is not a competition, unless you entered a competition, but that's also a different story. But even if it was a competition, it definitely shouldn't be a race. Faster is not better, and I really sincerely hope you enjoy the journey of creating instead of just the final product. Even if there are points on the journey that drive you nuts, like seam ripping a bunch of stuff because you committed to an elastic that was too thin and weak instead of testing it first. I mean, honestly, taking a step away and giving yourself a break is probably going to help you not be so driven nuts by your projects anyway. Rest is good, and rest doesn't have to be doing nothing. Sometimes rest from one thing is just doing another thing. I feel like this pep talk has started trailing down 4 side paths at the same time, so I'm going to wrap it up and let's take a look at the final products for this idea that ended up being a ridiculous amount of work to put all in 1 week's video. Well, y'all, it has been a time. I started this video so long ago. But pretty much successful. I mean, I'd say like by this point in my sewing journey, I'm definitely not like a 100% success rate for sewing projects. I mean, who is? Even like, well, I don't know. I suppose you could be experienced enough as a sewist to have a 100% success rate. That's hard to say. 100% success rate. I'm not there yet. So considering I sewed, what, 6 garments technically? 7 if you want to count the matching set separately. All of them are fine, if not like great, except for the very first one. So like, I'm pretty happy with that. I used a lot of my very pretty fabrics that have just been sitting there staring at me for ages. I'm really pleased with this one. A pretty good sized chunk of the side panels of this dress is pieced together from smaller pieces of fabric. It works, y'all. Don't ever let your fabric tell you that it is not enough. Make it be enough. But I do really like how it fits and it's so cute. I really like the mock-up dress too. And this makes, I wanna say, the 19th and 20th dresses, garments that I've gotten out of McCall 7349. It might even be the 20th and the 21st. I've lost count at this point. Anyway, I know this one was a little bit weird because I didn't like explain what I was doing for most of the garments, for all of the garments. That's just kind of how it went. So, I don't know, feel free to tell me that you absolutely hated that in the comments and I will take note of that feedback. Oh, and we didn't get to two of the fabrics, but both of these are pretty much quilting cottons, and it was suggested at one point, I believe, that I do a video about making clothing out of quilting cottons. So, you may see these again in the near future when I'm ready to sew several garments in one video again. Let's not do that for a little bit, huh? And the AC is coming on, so that is my cue to vamonos. Waiter taters! 1, 2, 3, 4. I declare a thumb war. Oh yeah! Graceful. Whoa. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, hello. Nothing revolutionary. Ooh, squeaky chair. It's fine. Ow, my spleen. Why does it feel like I sprained my toe? Ooh, starting to stink.
Are you focusing on my machine instead of on me? Oh my god, you are. Stop it. I can see the little square. Put it on my face. What's wrong with you?
Are you confused by Mommy's antics? You're a little high.